Hey guys, this is Chantal Weaver, and I am going to be privileged to speak to you guys today about the in-home. So I'm going to just start right at it and kind of lay things out, kind of where it begins and how you guys can hopefully do better when you are ready to get out there and get into the home and do some appointments. As hokey as it may sound, mindset is going to be the first part of it. So I want everybody to realize that you guys have a license and that these people filled out a form because they wanted you to lead them. So they filled out a lead so they could be led. So when you go in there, don't be intimidated. You need to have the confidence. Okay, it's going to be huge that they see that you feel like you know what you're doing and that you're going to help them out. Just picture yourself if you went to a doctor and the doctor kind of hemmed and hawed and was, I'm not really sure if you have cancer or it might be something else. You wouldn't feel very confident. Right? So, and you wouldn't really probably want to stick with that doctor. So realize how important it is that you feel good about yourself, you feel good that you have a license and that you're going to go in there and help them. But don't misinterpret that if you need guidance on which product might be best specified for them. That does not show anything. That does not show that you're not knowing what you're doing, okay? Because doctors refer to other people all the time. Everybody gets help from people. Everybody gets mentored by different people. And even still today, I contact other people to say, hey, have you ever had this situation? And which products should we do? So don't misinterpret the two to be the same because, being confident and still asking for help when you need it, that actually shows like that you care. So make sure that you have the proper mindset, make sure that you're organized and that you're prepared with the materials that you need and that you have, applications and phone apps. So once you have all of that stuff gathered up and you're ready to go into the home, the first thing that I do when I get to the door, I knock on the door. And when they come, I just, confidently, put my hand out, walk through the door, shake their hand and say, hey, I'm Chantal. Would you like me to take my shoes off? And probably 99% of the time they're going to say no. But it shows a bit of respect that, you're in their home and that you care. So I start that and I do a little bit of small talk while we're walking into the house, and I direct them to go straight to the kitchen. Sometimes people might want to lead you in a different direction, and if we can't clearly see a table, I'm going to say, do you have a table where we can sit at? It will be easier for me to be able to show you everything if we can sit at a table. And that also is showing them that you're taking the lead and that this is your appointment. Okay, so that's definitely what you want to do is this is your time, this is your appointment. Your time is very valuable. You have a lot of other families that you need to help, so you need to be very structured. Once you get in there and you're sitting at the table, I do a little bit of an intro. I'm with Family First Life. I have all these different carriers that I work with, up to 15 different carriers. My job here today is to try to find the best solution for you. So what I'm going to do is ask you a lot of questions. It's not to be nosy, but it's so that we can best identify which product and carrier might be best suited for you. Okay, so it's going to be very important that you guys be completely honest with me. That way I'm going to be able to be completely honest back with you. And either lead you to or from a certain carrier, depending on what the information is that we've gathered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about, like, let's say this is a mortgage appointment. So if this is a mortgage appointment, I'm going to be spending a few minutes talking about your mortgage, your financials, and what you have or don't have for coverage. We're going to spend a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, on your health. And then I'm going to take about 5 to 10 minutes to try to figure out which options are going to be best, and I'll present those to you. Once I do that, we're going to look at the different carriers that can provide those options that we've decided on, and we're going to pick the best one for you. Does that make sense? And then you always get their agreement. So people want to know how that appointment is going to go, and you laying it out there shows the structure, okay? So then I also lead it up to, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, as long as we find something today that we feel you'll get approval on that makes sense to you and that fits your budget, is there any reason why you would not do this? And most times some people might say, well, depends on the price. I get that a lot, even though I've said, what? So then I'll just repeat myself. Yes, I said if it makes sense to you and it fits your budget. Oh, well then no. Okay, great. And if they do say some reason, like if somebody gets there, like say you booked an appointment and you didn't ask the question, like, do you have a spouse, a child, or anybody else that needs to be there with you? I ask that in every time I book an appointment. But if for some reason you've forgotten, or maybe they didn't hear it at the time, or what, so that gives them the opportunity to say something if there was any reason why they would not do it. Well, yes, there's a child, or there's a husband, or whatever the case may be. If I hear that, I say, I'm so sorry that we didn't determine this while we were booking the appointment, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reschedule with you, and I'm going to come back when they can be here, okay? And if they say, no, you can just give me the information, I'll give it to them. Guys, don't do it, okay? It's never going to work out. They're going to take the information. You're never going to hear from them again, okay? So the only way that you're going to have an opportunity is to reschedule with them. If you did the appointment, you're going to end up taking 20 to 30 minutes of your time going over things. You're not going to get an application. You have a slim to none chance of getting back in there to do an application. So you might as well save the time, okay? So never do a one-leg appointment, or never, so just pack up, apologize that this was not determined on the phone, and move on to your next appointment. But as long as everything makes sense and they're going to go ahead, then I move on to the appointment and say, okay, well, now I'm going to talk about your mortgage. I see here that you have $150,000. Is that the total that you owe on your mortgage? Well, yes, it is. Okay, great. What term did you do? Is that a 30-year mortgage? Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. And what percentage rate did you get for that, for interest? Most people know. Some people have to look it up, but just to say that it's like, 5%. Okay, great. And what payment is it that you make on that? And get them to give you all those figures. These are all going to help you later when you're trying to sort out what to do for them. So I also get it broken down on their income. Okay, so I ask them, Bob, how much is it that you make a month? What do you bring home? And Mary, what about you? What do you bring home? And if they're retired people, I get a breakdown too, like how much is Social Security, how much is pension, and I do ask the questions, did you, like if it's a pension or something, did you get the spousal benefit with that? Some people do, some people don't, so that you can kind of determine what that picture is going to look like for them when the other one passes away. At that point, then I'm going to move on and say, do you guys have anything else that acts like coverage? Like, do you have any 401k, IRA, stocks, bonds, significant savings, any other properties? And get them to list all of that out. And I break it down by each person because we want to determine how much they are going to have if the other one passes away. Okay, now sometimes people may give you, sometimes. Now if you're confident enough and you act like this is not a big deal, it shouldn't be because you've laid it out and you've already structured the appointment. Okay, but if it doesn't, if they still say, well, why do you need to know all this? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, for me to give you my professional recommendation, I'm just, information gathering so that I can truly see what your situation is, so I can give you my guidance on, what option seems to be best suited based on this information. So I'm not going to report anything to the IRS. Some people get, especially some people. I've had one guy, believe it or not, he had snakes in his basement. Like he raised snakes, like from eggs. He breeded them, and he shipped them all over the place. But this was kind of like an under-the-table deal that he did. So he was real skeptical on like sharing how much money he actually made from that. So I just like make him comfortable. Like, I definitely do not want to go in your basement. So I don't care what it is that you are doing. I'm just trying to identify, like, if you die, where that puts Mary. Okay, so this is not going past this table. It's just for me to know. So that kind of most times eases people's mind. And if you can definitely crack a joke or poke fun at yourself in some way to kind of break the ice and take the pressure off of them and back onto you, then I think that definitely helps smooth things out a little bit. So once we go through that, I then say, do you guys have any other coverage, any insurance outside of employment? And a good bit of the time, surprising enough, people don't have any. They only have what they have through employment. So if they have policies, I just say, please go grab those for me to do a quick review of those. So I will look through and I'll try to determine, what kind of policies they are, if it's a term, how long, when it's going to end, if those premiums are level. These are things that you're looking for. So when you open up these policies, you want to look for, is it term, is it whole life? If it's a term, when it's going to end, so that you can determine whether or not this is something that they're going to have, long term, if they're trying to add on top of this coverage or if they're trying to replace that coverage. A good bit of the time it's just coverage they have, and this is something like it's not going to affect the mortgage. So I always tell people it's not going to affect what you're doing here, but whenever you will put in an application, they are going to ask if you have any other coverage. So we do need to write that information down. And it's just easier if we have that in front of us. So people then are like, oh, okay. So go through that and get that information. Then I'm going to get into the few minutes that I spoke to them about talking about their health. Okay, so I'm going to flip my page over and I'm going to do, 2 different columns, husband on one side, wife on the other. I'm going to ask them both if they smoke, how old they are today, and then I'm going to say what prescriptions have been prescribed to you. Okay, now this is something that I've changed. I used to say, what prescriptions do you take? Okay, now I've had to switch that up a little bit, and this was a nugget that I learned from someone's training, because sometimes people, and I've had this happen to me in the past, sometimes people, like they might have even have taken a prescription 2 weeks ago, but because they're not taking it right now, they don't tell you because they're not taking it right now because that's the way you asked it. So, learn from mistakes of others what prescriptions have been prescribed to you, because even if they had a surgery, they were prescribed oxycodone. Some carriers might not like that, so you need to know that. Okay, so what prescriptions have been prescribed to you, and please get me either the bottles or a list. I find it real hard to know how to spell these. I don't know how they come up with the names. So, and try to make it be that way, because I've also had people say, hey, well, I take something for high blood pressure, something for this, and something for that. And then the appointment goes through. I'm like at the end clicking that button, and then it turns out that they've got like these other prescriptions that they didn't share with me. So get them to get the prescriptions or the list so that nothing is missed. When you are writing down their prescriptions, ask them what each one is for, even if you know, okay? I mean, some of them are, pretty simple, like, metformin's for diabetes. How old were you when you became diabetic? And then go through the list. Like, okay, you take atorvastatin. Okay, that's for cholesterol. Yes. Okay, great. And you take this for that. But get them to say it, because there's going to be some prescriptions that have multiple uses, and you need to know what the use is that they are taking it for. Don't put words in their mouth, because some people might just have a bigger issue and not want to say. So I always get people to give me that answer. What is it you take this for? On occasion, you might have some people that say, I'm not sure, especially some of the older seniors when they're taking quite a few. They might have that. So if you can look up in your drug guide and you can see, sometimes there might be one that's used for high blood pressure, but it might also be used for heart conditions. So it is important that you go through that and say, were you prescribed this prescription? Like if they said they didn't know, were you prescribed this for high blood pressure, this heart condition, that, and get them to answer which one it was for. Okay? Now, if you're new and you do not know what carrier, once you get the prescriptions, if you do not know which carrier you should go with, this is the point that you would pick up the phone and call your manager. If you can't get a hold of your manager, then you call the agent hotline. Okay? So call the agent hotline, and the phone call is going to go like this. Hey, Chantal, this is Sally. I'm with Bob and Mary. Bob is 62. He takes metformin, atorvastatin, and a high blood pressure medication. He hasn't had any hospitalizations or surgeries. What should we do for him? And then I'm going to say, you could do Eagle Premier, you could do Living Promise. I would start with those two. If they have something else, like maybe they have neuropathy or something, then I'm going to give you a different answer. But that's kind of how you want to lay that call out to your manager or to the hotline, so that you're prepared and you can just go through it quickly and they can give you a quick answer. That way it looks like you really know what you're doing, and you help the manager out by saying, specifically what the information they need to know. Okay? Hey, I'm in a mortgage protection appointment, and and this is what he's got. He's this age. What's his best option? And do that with both parties. Okay? So once you figure out which carrier you're going to go with, I generally am going to put down 3 options on the page. Okay? And that's going to be kind of based off of their income. So you kind of gauge it, like what they have for income, so you can kind of see what the range should be. Okay? So if it's like mortgage, I usually will do the full amount of their mortgage. On the 150, I might do the full amount on the 125, and then I might half it. 50-50 for each one. And it might depend on their age. Now, if they're seniors, I might do something different. I might do the HMS 125, and then I might do the payment protector, and then I might do a lower amount. If they're real seniors, I'm probably going to try to lean them towards, kill the term in the home and go towards doing a whole life and buying them time. And you kind of have to structure that a little bit differently. You have to sell the value of what that is, because a lot of people will see, God, they got a $100,000 mortgage, and now they're only getting $30,000. Well, how does that make sense, and how is that going to help? And it's like, well, look, at the end of the day, there's just the two of you here. Are you going to stay here if Bob dies? No, I can't. I don't want to keep up the yard and all that. Okay, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to protect your equity. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to buy you enough time so that you don't have to go to the funeral and come home and pack boxes. Okay, you can stay here. You can keep the mortgage payments going, and you can take your time to be able to sell the house so that you get the full equity out of it. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, we're also showing you something that you're not going to outlive. So, you're 72. The mortgage company gave you a 30-year mortgage. Well, the insurance people are not going to give you a 30-year term. Okay? And most people 72 aren't going to probably be eligible health-wise for it anyway. So you want to kill the term that they're going to outlive it, especially if their health is not good, so that you can, so they feel good about doing what it is you're doing. And most people, once you say, this is going to provide you 2 years, it's going to provide you 3 years, it's going to provide you 1 year, that you've got payments so that you don't have to be concerned about what you're going to do. So that's kind of how I go through that. And then I'll say, Bob and Mary, in case I didn't say this already, what my job is here is to just help you guys find the best option, but I can't approve you, okay? So we can't really make a decision today because I can't approve you. If you could, which of these options looks the best to you? And then you take the sales out of it, then all of a sudden they're not scared to say, right? Because they don't think you're going to sell them anything. So then they're like, oh, well, definitely this one. Okay, great. Well, Bob, what I need you to do is get your license. What we're going to do is put a request for coverage in with this carrier. Okay? So I need you to go grab your license. We're going to go through the questions. We're also going to submit your bank account information. If they approve it, okay, they will draft your account for the premiums. And then every month after on the same day, unless it falls on a weekend or a holiday, it'll be the following banking day, okay? But what they're going to do is they're going to check your prescription history, your MIB record. They're going to look at the questions, and then they're going to decide yes or no, okay? So I'm kind of taken out of the equation at that point. But what I can do is help you submit that to see if that's going to be an option. Okay, so then they get their license, and then you start filling out the application. Okay, so that's kind of a scenario on the mortgage. It's very similar with the final expense. You just don't have as much detail. Now, one thing I didn't say on the mortgage is the whole cash back option. That, is, I think, hands down a huge selling feature for anybody in the younger years, is that they can pay their mortgage down early if they do a 25-year cash back option. You show them what they get back in 25 years. You download an amortization calculator so that you can take that interest rate that you got from them, and you can put in their mortgage amount, the interest rate, and then you look 25 years ahead from when they took their mortgage out, and you can see what they're going to owe at that 25-year mark. Mark that down on the page. Okay? Then take the amount that they said they pay a month, calculate that by 12 months, by 5 years, write that down on the page in big print, saving that amount. Okay? Then the premiums that come up for that 25-year cashback option, you multiply that by 12, by 25, that gives what their cashback is going to be. Okay? Generally, it's going to work out, like if you have a couple doing a 25-year cashback option, between the two of them, they're going to definitely be able to pay off that mortgage, sometimes even with one of them. So that is a huge benefit, as well as like the living benefits that are with the Americo. Mutual has a great one as well. So that's kind of like a mortgage appointment, and the final expense, you eliminate all that mortgage detail, okay, but still get the financial inventory, still ask them, what their income is, still break it down so you know where they sit. You still ask what else they have. Do they have any stocks, bonds, annuities, 401k, IRA, anything like that? And then you still ask what coverage they have. You still go through their medical the same way. And at the end, I still show them 3 options. Okay, that gives them like a high, medium, and low, so they've got something to look at. So that's, pretty much it. And while I'm doing that, generally while I'm filling out or while I'm working out options for people, I'm talking to them as well. And that's kind of like I do more rapport building at that point than I do early on. Early on, I kind of like intro, bring it in, have maybe a 2-minute conversation to break the ice, and then I get right to it because I want to respect their time. I have to respect my time. I have a lot of people to see that day, and I want to be structured. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope that you guys can get the confidence to go out and to help a lot of people. We definitely have not reinvented the wheel. We repeat and repeat and repeat. It is like adult follow the leader. So if you guys have any questions or anything, I'd be happy to help out. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you.